各位好，欢迎收看凤凰卫视每周台为您带来的天天话题。在今天的节目当中呢，我们特别为您连线的是亚凯迪亚的前市长 Bob Herbig。Hi Bob, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, from my understanding, you're currently running for Arcadia City Council again. Tell us why.
Yes, I am. Well, I've served 20 years on the Arcadia City Council, and I obviously enjoy it, or I wouldn't have done it so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back on the City Council to facing our city.
And you're running for District 2 in Arcadia. What is your platform?
Well, basically, my platform is experience. We're losing 40 years of experience on our city council this year alone because of the death of a councilman and two other council members who are being turned out. And so I think my experience would be invaluable at this point.
I know there are currently 3 candidates running for this district. What makes you the most qualified to run your district?
Well, the other two candidates have no experience in city government at all. I've been mayor of 2 cities, not just Arcadia, but also the city of Duarte. I've spent 25 years as a city councilman, 6 years as a planning commissioner. So I bring a wealth of experience to the job.
So as you mentioned, 25 years city council experience, 5 terms as mayor. How would you summarize your politics?
I think that running a city, particularly a city like Arcadia, which is basically a fine city, things are going in the right direction. And I kind of look at it or describe it as kind of like an ocean liner. It's crises that need to be addressed, or they just want to keep Arcadia the fine city that it is.
So now that you're running, what concerns do you have about your district?
I wouldn't do anything that particularly benefited my city if it was, my district, if it wasn't to the benefit of the entire city.
Now, this year's there's some Measure CA on the ballot. Do you agree that districts are good for Arcadia?
Could you repeat that? You're kind of breaking up there.
We know this year there's a Measure CA on the ballot. Do you agree that districts are good for Arcadia?
I have mixed feelings about districts. I think that it's opened up these city council races so that we get broader representation. At the same time, Arcadia to me is one city, and I don't see where my district has any concerns that are any different than the other districts in the city. So while I see the benefit to, we've gotten a couple of Chinese city council members, which probably was helped along by the fact that they only had to run in one district. But I think it tends to segregate our city into different areas, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Now, I know this is the first election after the redistricting in Arcadia. Do you believe the map should have been changed in Arcadia?
No, the recent change in maps was a terrible thing for Arcadia. At the time we had 2 Chinese city council members. The change in the map put them both into the same district. I don't know if that was the intention of those who changed the map. I can't know what was in their mind, but the effect is obvious. One of them, they either have to run against each other or one of them has to step aside.
Mm-hmm. I know recently there was a lawsuit filed against the city to unseat an appointed council member. What's your response to that?
Well, the courts have spoken. I think that the council was derelict in its duty. The city charter is clear that they either have to make an appointment within 30 days or call a special election. I don't think that's very hard to understand, but that didn't happen. motions were made to call a special election, and they kept ending on a 2-2 tie, so the election was never called. That's too bad. That one district in the city was unrepresented for months and months and months. And it could have been resolved simply by calling a special election.
All right, thank you, Bob. Let's take a break and I will be right back. 那我们先休下今天的广告，广告过后呢，我们再来继续今天的天天话题，不要离开。感谢回来，在今天的节目当中呢，我们继续为您连线的是雅凯迪亚的前市长 Bob Parvic. Hi, Bob. We know there's just so many issues residents in Arcadia have concerns about. One of them being the tiny shelter. Do you agree with tiny shelters?
No, I don't. Homelessness, first and foremost, is a regional, statewide, or national problem. The idea that Arcadia can solve the homelessness problem is ludicrous. Arcadia needs to, I think, discourage homeless people from being here. I think one of the problems is that we refer to it as homeless, but homelessness is not the problem. Homelessness is the symptom of the problem. The problems are drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental illness in almost all cases. And putting a piece of plywood over their head is not going to solve the problem. So tiny shelters is, in my mind, a silly solution that would be completely useless.
Well, we know inflation has hit a 40-year high through the price of gas and food and rent, and homelessness in Arcadia is also becoming a huge problem. So if you're elected, what are your priorities?
These, quite frankly, are to discourage the homeless from coming here. And I think that Arcadia in the past has done things that encourage them to come here, offering cell phone charging, free showers, things like that. They're going to come. If you build tiny shelters, that's going to attract people, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to make the problem worse in Arcadia. I think Arcadia is seeing what California is seeing. We have homeless coming from all over the United States to California because California has been so generous in its treatment of homeless. Plus, of course, we have great weather, but it's an attractive nuisance.
Mm-hmm. Well, now let's talk about city finances. So if you're elected, what is one thing you will change about it?
Well, the city budget is a large, complicated document, and I pride myself on my understanding of the city budget. And in the past, I mean, I've adopted 20 budgets here in Arcadia, and I've gone over them with a fine-tooth comb. We've made changes here and there, and I expect that would be what goes on in the future. At this point, the city is pretty well financed. We have a surplus right now, partly as a result of the inflation and the cost of gas prices. We get sales tax on all of those gallons of gasoline sold, and so we're in pretty good shape right now. I would have to get into the latest budget in detail to really make any specific comments about that.
All right, I know there are lots of...
I think public...
Mm-hmm. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, everyone should understand that the most important thing the city provides is public safety, police, fire, paramedics. And 60% of our budget goes to that, as it should. And so the amount of flexibility that we have is limited, but I've always been a public safety guy. That's been job one for me. And so I would be looking at the budget with an idea to how we can move more money into that area, which is so important to people. and maybe some areas that aren't so important back off.
Right, speaking of that, actually, I know you also received the endorsement from the Arcadia Police Association. Is that correct?
Yes, the Arcadia Police Association and the Arcadia Firefighters Association have both endorsed me.
That's wonderful.
I think that is very important. I mean, because public safety is so important, I think the opinion of the people who are on the front line of public safety every day should be important.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know there are lots of Chinese residents in D2. Do you believe that the Chinese community has been adequately represented on City Council?
Well, we have 2 current Chinese on the City Council. And this upcoming election, we will have at least 1 more because in District 3, both of the candidates are Chinese. So I think they have been. I think it's unfortunate, as we discussed earlier, the change in the map in the districts effectively moved one of them out. And I think that's unfortunate.
Well, so how have you been involved with the Chinese community?
Well, you know, the Arcadia Chinese community has been growing for the last 35 years. And over time, I've made many friends in the Chinese community. Probably more specifically, I was recently involved with, through the Arcadia Rotary Club, with rehabilitating Boy Scout fort up at the Boy Scout camp. And myself and John Murphy were co-chairs for fundraising, and we needed to raise $140,000 to accomplish what we wanted to do. And the first thing we did is turn to the Arcadia Chinese Association. Mm-hmm. Jamie Lee was the president at that time, and John and I met with her, told her about what we were trying to do, and she embraced it completely. And the Arcadia Chinese Association put on a special event with all of the proceeds going to the Boy Scout fort. And so I've worked with Jamie and the association for the last almost 3 years. And we finished our fundraising here 3 or 4 months ago. We raised $140,000. And either directly or indirectly, about half of that came through the effort of the Arcadia Chinese Association. So I think that's a good of the community. It was a real pleasure for me. And I have to say that the fact that we thought of going to the ACA as our first step is a tribute to the Arcadia Chinese Association and how well they've integrated themselves into the community and become an important force.
Wonderful. Any final messages to your voters in D2?
All I can say is that I think my experience is important. I think the opinions of our safety personnel are important. I think they will be well represented, and our city will be in good hands if they vote for me. Hope they will.
All right. Bob Parvick running for Arcadia City Council D2. Bob, thank you for your time and good luck on your upcoming election in November.
Thank you very much, Amy. I'm very happy to have been here and have the opportunity to chat with you.
同时也非常感谢各位的收看，我们下期同一时间再见。
您正在收看的是凤凰卫视。